What's up, Summoners? My name is Nathan Ng, and welcome back to another episode of ProGuides Best Champions to Main, now on patch 10.11. These champions are for the League of Legends hipsters. They have high performance with low ban rates, and they're unlikely to get nerfed in the immediate future, but the most reliable picks in the game that are most worthy investing some time in. But before we get started though, our question of the day is, which region in Runeterra do you think is the strongest? Let us know in the comments down below, or hop into our Discord and discuss it with the rest of your peers. We have tons of conversations happening there daily, and hopefully I'll get to see you guys there. We also have an equally exciting new subreddit that could help you guys climb, so check it out. We're filling it with tons of good resources and conversations to help you guys in your climb. Now, without further delay, let's go ahead and get right into it. Our first underrated top laner on patch 10.11 is Mundo. Mundo is a health-based tank who definitely needs a visual update, but he still soaks up damage for his team like the big beefy frontline stud that he is. Mundo is a relatively safe laner who, in the worst case scenario, resorts to throwing his Q cleavers to farm and blast it from a good distance. At best though, he's an unstoppable freight train of pain and cleavers. His W gives him a burning AoE damage around him that takes down his health, but also gives him the increased tenacity so he can keep on pressing the attack. His E is an auto attack reset that boosts his damage for a short amount of time so he can quickly double tap an enemy and hit even harder than they're expecting. Catching people off guard is a natural part of Mundo's kit, as they have to figure out if they could kill Mundo through his E's damage, his W's tenacity, and his freaking ultimate massive health regain. And it's frequently the case that they guess wrong and they have to watch Mundo step all over their body and go cleaver their allies. Mundo doesn't see a ton of play, but you should give him a shot, especially if you're gold or lower where people don't really know that they need to build grievous wounds. Running into the top lane with 10.11 is Hecarim, and I'm honestly kind of surprised that we haven't seen him in the top lane ever since the teleport buffs gave movement speed. Hecarim's Conqueror build turns him into an unkillable whirlwind of sustain while also giving him decent pick potential without having to go full Predator missile. His Q swings his blade around himself, cleaving any nearby enemies and rapidly stacking Conqueror for Hecarim if he's in a teamfight. Hecarim's W puts a zone around him, dealing steady magic damage to any enemies inside of it. While it's active, Hecarim also heals for a percentage of any damage enemies in it suffer, meaning that once Hecarim's Conqueror is fully stacked, his slow cooldown, his Q basically helicopters him into immortality. Hecarim's E is a speed boost that lets him trample and displaces whoever he hits, helping him knock enemies into his team. After he's ran them over, he can immediately use his ult to change the trajectory and dash back and veer them and get them even further into their doom. Jungle is Hecarim's natural habitat, and while he is good at the top lane, there's a lot of nuance to make it through the laning phase. If you want help learning how to stampede your enemies with some of the mightiest TP ganks in the game, head over to ProGuides.com and one of our coaches can give you some pointers. Here are those top lane builds, so check them out before we move on. Poppy is our first underrated jungler of 10.11. Like many champions whose kits are more on the simple side of things, Poppy often gets forgotten about most of the player base. However, when you encounter a good Poppy and find yourself unable to function against her in teamfights, you'll never have trouble remembering again. Poppy is tanky, but her base damages are insane. Her Q deals a huge chunk of damage over its 2 procs, and while the second proc is dodgeable, it's awfully hard to dodge when Poppy's pinned you into the wall with her E's tackle. It's even harder to dodge Poppy when her W creates a huge circle around her that stops dashes and grounds whoever attempts to use one. Aside from keeping her victims locked down, her W is also an invaluable tool to keep the enemies off your backliners. On top of that, her ult can just launch enemies into the sunset, so there's a lot of protection there if you're trying to keep your team alive. Even outside of teamfights though, Poppy's a great 1v1 skirmisher, especially with Electrocute, so don't underestimate her. Our second underrated jungler pick is literally quite wild. It's very rare to see that Udyr gets a chance to shine as a champion, and I don't even think I've seen him once in this entire season. But right now he's the sleepiest sleeper OP available, probably getting more sleep than me. Udyr is a brawler that primarily focuses and finds success on hunting down the opponents and setting them behind by sheer force of dual potential. His Q's Tiger Stance enhances attack speed and makes his attacks do extra damage. This is his primary dueling ability, but his W also enables him to have more sustain based on the approach by giving him a shield and a little bit of lifesteal. Udyr's E gives him some movement speed and a stun on his first auto attack upon switching. This stun that he gets from Bear Stance is basically his only real ganking tool, but it's there to set up your laners. Nothing dazzling, but it gets the job done. Udyr's R, which isn't a traditional ult or an ult at all, is Phoenix Stance, which gives him access to a bit of AoE damage while he's brawling. So this is better suited for situations with multiple targets. You have to be very macro savvy to pull off Udyr, but you could probably get that covered if you watch a ton of ProGuides. Oh, and as per usual with Tiamat rushing champions, hold on finishing it into Hydra until it's the last thing left. Udyr works best with Titanic, but I'm pretty sure there are some crazy builds out there where Ravenous works. The jungle builds should be up on your screen one more time, so give those another peek. Pantheon is our first underrated mid laner of patch 10.11. Ever since Pantheon has been brought back to a reasonable level after his rework, his appearance has been kindly sparse on the Rift, except from that one situation where he was played mid, top, bottom, and jungle and support and ADC, I guess. But I am here to tell you that mid lane Pantheon is just the way to go. As an early game AD champion, Pantheon excels at creating his own leads, and as a champion with a long-range ult suitable for roaming, he's also excelling at snowballing those leads. Pantheon's Q is his primary trading tool in lane for whittling down opponents. But after a few spares, a target usually gets low enough for him to hard commit with his point-and-click W stun, and just to finish them off with his E auto attack and just spam your face on the keyboard. If they try to retaliate, Pantheon's E just lets him block all of the incoming damage, but also trades back a few quick spirit flurries of his own. These abilities make Pantheon a great duelist, but eventually most duelists fall off in the late game. With Pantheon's ult to help him roam and win side lanes, however, late game rarely arrives. He jumps in the air, crashes back down to the ground with a roar of fire, and obliterates whoever is unlucky enough to be breathing his allies' air. Annie will be our second underrated mid lane champion for 10.11. As a short-range burst mage whose kit is exceptionally simplistic, Annie is often overlooked in favor for more versatile and complex champions. But in reality, she can easily function in a variety of ways to help her team as long as the player stays mentally flexible. Annie's gameplay is centered around her passive, which augments her next spell with the stun every 4 casts. Her Q is a point-and-click fireball that deals a decent amount of damage to a target hit, and refunds its mana cost if it last hits the enemy. This easily lets her farm in lane or guarantees a stun against more slippery mobile targets that might dodge her other skill shots. Her W is a cone of flame with a range that's ever so slightly longer than her Q's range, so mastering this little bit of nuance can be the difference between getting a stun or not, which also could lead to a kill. On top of that, since it's AoE, it's also her best option for stunning multiple opponents if her ult Tibbers isn't available at the time. When it is tough, she's more than happy to pop her E for the bonus movement speed and defensive stats so she can just safely run up and just drop a Tibbers on them. How you use Annie's stun is really up to you. You can use it for picks, to peel for your carries, or just to devastate a team fight. Just make sure that you're constantly thinking about the best way to apply it. And here are those mid lane builds for you guys one more time. Our first underrated bot lane carry for 10.11 is bouncing back with Sivir. A frequent member of underrated lists, Sivir is a utility-focused ADC who has a sneaky way of popping off in the late game. She's generally picked for how safe she is, and the chief aspect of her safety is in her E spell shield, allowing her to negate any grabs for hooks and even gaining a little mana in the process. Not only is she hard to engage upon though, she's also very hard to approach like that girl that you like. Her Q throws her crossblade like a boomerang and damages all targets that it passes through, and when she uses it alongside her W's ricocheting auto attacks, she can decimate a wave in seconds. If you're fed enough, all you really have to do is just press W without even using Q. This combo is equally deadly in teamfights, especially since her W's enhanced auto attacks can crit while they're bouncing around the enemy. People don't even notice it, but they get chunked piece by piece. Finally, her ult is a large buff to her and her teammates' movement speed, acting as a versatile engagement or disengagement tool. On top of that, it even increases her attack speed while Ricochet is active. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that she's the most exciting champion on the planet, but she's very effective, especially when you don't know what you're picking into. And she's really good against Varus. I know a lot of people are going to be hating on this one, but Yasuo will be our second underrated bot lane pick in patch 10.11. Yasuo is a melee AD champion, and after the recent buffs to Zeal items, ADC Yasuos have been reaping the benefits as well, just eating the crumbs of the ADC buffs. It's absolutely freaking disgusting. While melee carries typically have a hard time in the bot lane, Yasuo gets by because his passive provides him a free shield to absorb pressure, so he can't actually be harassed quite that easily. His survivability is also helped by the fact that his E lets him dash around a couple million times to dodge skill shots or to catch you, and his W is a one-wall that blocks projectiles in a projectile-focused lane. So that's fun. Speaking of fun, Yasuo's Q lets him step out in any target direction, which damages allies and procs on-hit abilities. But more than that, after 3 successful hits, it turns into a tornado skill shot that can be sent out to enemies to knock them up, or to EQ dash to just knock them up if he can't even land a skill shot. Either way, as long as he lands it, he's set up for his ult and you're just as good as dead. Bot lane builds are here once again in case you guys missed anything. Our first underrated support on patch 10.11 is Lux. Her recent buffs have helped her a lot, and she's back to functioning pretty well with more enchanter-focused items than her full AP build. Lux's Q is a snare that can hit up to 2 targets, giving her the ability to make picks and start fights. Her W is a multi-target range shield, protecting allies on its way out and its way back. Just one of these bad boys placed correctly can win you a team fight, and that's just before you can even factor in her damage. Lux's E is a large AoE spell that can slow any enemies within its range, and Lux can detonate it at will to damage enemies and burst targets down. Knowing when to detonate E and when to maximize its slow is part of what separates a good Lux from a bad Lux, so make sure you're not just mindlessly popping it as soon as you cast it. Her ult is something that we're very familiar with since it's burned into all of our memories. But even so, her long-range laser blast is worth mentioning as a game-changing finisher that it is. Heck, you could even use it as the start of a fight because if you wanted to, its low cooldown gets refunded off of assists. Give her a shot, people don't really remember how much of a menace she is. So, get the freelo while it's hot. Yet another mid laner who's ended up finding its equal if not better success in the support position, Galio is our second underrated support for 10.11. Galio is a utility tank with respectable base damage, and the combination of his assets is what makes him really so dominant. With Galio's passive smash attacks and his Q tornadoes, he can go toe-to-toe with most other supports early on, which buys him the time that he needs to get tanky and really start utilizing his biggest utility, his W. Galio's W taunt pairs excellently with his E, a dashing punch that pushes him into the fray where he can start channeling his taunt to make sure that all eyes are on him. Galio's semi-global ult lets him come into the rescue of any nearest teammates in need, and as soon as he swoops in for the shielding superhero landing, he can combo himself into the enemy and lock them down. All in all, a pretty sweet deal for any supports who want a little bit more agency on the map. And finally, the support builds are up for you guys one more time, so go ahead and take a look at it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we hope you guys enjoy this video along with our patch 10.11 series. Once again, let us know in the comments which region you think is the most powerful in Runeterra so we can go ahead and hit you guys with a hot, fresh heart react. We really do love hearing from you guys. See you guys next time. Good luck on the Rift, wash your hands, stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you in the comment section down below. Peace.